Good morning, Dawn. Thank you for
Good
joining.
morning.
Do you want to introduce yourself and tell us what you do? You
Certainly,
wear
certainly.
many
So my
hats.
my, my name is Don Love, and I serve as the Umoja and the Amend counselor coordinator here at Miracosta, and have since basically I started here.
Can you
If
tell
you're
us
not,
what Umoja and Amend are for the
I
folks who
certainly
don't?
will. So Umoja, it's a Swahili word that means unity, and it is a student success program designed to improve outcomes for Black students in California community colleges. It's been around, I think Emoji's been around for like 20 years now. I've been in education for 19, so I kind of walked in right as folks were trying to figure out, hey, we have to do a better job of educating all of our students. And I walked in right as Emoji was being born in that first year. And so I feel like I've been a part of this whole process. The Amend program is another program, statewide student success program, but it's been around actually just as long as Umoja. They kind of started at the same time. The difference is that the Amend is, which is an acronym, African American Male Education Network and Development. Um, uh, it was started by six Black community college administrators, and they just looked at the data and then 20 years ago and said, look, Black men are struggling even harder than Black students as a whole. So they wanted to put something together that where we really focused on uh, Black men. And at Miracosta, our men program focuses on men of color because in our data, we look at men of color. Doesn't matter if you're Black, Hispanic, uh, Hawaiian, Pacific Islander. You are typically we're seeing our data are struggling when it comes to our men. So we're trying to put together programs that allow us to really be intentional about connecting with the students and providing the support that they need.
Thank
So
you.
I've been doing this for in March it'll be 19 years total, uh, and I kind of feel like I walked into my dream job. I didn't know what I was getting into 19 years ago. But I was fortunate. I started off working with our Summer Bridge program. And Summer Bridge, which has been around for 34 years, that was another case where there was I think one Black counselor working at Miracosta at the time, and he and the first Black trustee for the district, Henry Holloway, who passed away a few years ago, they were looking at our data and they saw that Black students were really having a hard time here at Miracosta. And what they really wanted to do was put together a program where we worked with students, high school students who were transitioning to Miracosta, and prepare them for their first year of college. So Summer Bridge has been around for a long time. We now call it the Umoja Summer Bridge program. And that's kind of what I do here.
That's awesome. And you're full-time in counseling, correct?
Yes, if I didn't say that counselor coordinator, I am the counselor and the coordinator for both of those programs.
That's awesome. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I hate to assume people know all the good things that we have, and sometimes, or we hear the acronyms, we hear the names, and we don't always attach stuff. I think Umoja is better known, but I know that Amend is still. It's
Well, I'm
one of
glad you
those
said
that
that
even though
because
it's been around for a while, it's not, I don't think
yeah,
as familiar to everybody.
no, that's actually a great point, and one of our goals this year is because I think that Umoja has a much broader name recognition on campus, and that's probably what a lot of folks know me as, even if they've never met me. If they've heard my name and if we meet for the first time, they'll reckon, oh, you're the Umoja counselor.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but Amend, even though we've been taking students to the Amend conference every year since the first year, that's not as well known. And officially, we really have only had our men program officially on campus for the past 4 years now.
Oh, okay.
But we've always focused on it. So like it's been an emphasis of mine, but now the campus actually has an official program in place.
That's awesome. All right, well, I'm going to ask you a series of four questions, much like a game show would, and you will not receive any prizes at the end. Just my everlasting gratitude.
Not a problem. I look forward to that.
All right, question one. What helps you feel most connected to your colleagues as a teacher at MiraCosta?
Yeah, even though I'm a counseling faculty, I like to frame this around our counseling department. So I'll frame it as a counselor. And one of the things that makes me feel most connected is, I really feel like we have a very cohesive team
Mm,
here in our department. Um, Very fortunate. We've got with all the different departments, we've got our transfer center, we've got our career center, we've got our EOPS, SAS centers, and so everybody's got share a lot of overlap in what we do, but then some very specific things that are unique to each of those departments in those areas. And so one of the things that really helps us feel connected is that we feel like I know I do. I feel like I can go to any one of those areas. I don't have to be the expert in all of them, uh, but I do have to have relationships. And that's what really helps out a lot because it's a lot easier to go to a colleague who's in that area that has a little bit more knowledge that may be something that I maybe don't talk to our students about as often, and just by having a conversation with them allows us to build some bridges. And in my case, my office is in the transfer center, so having that kind of relationship where I had a couple of student appointments yesterday where they walked in. Matter of fact, one of the students, I've actually never had anybody say this, but one of the students just said, "Oh, your office is in the transfer center." And I thought, wow, okay, that's wonderful that you actually noticed that. It's very intentional
right,
because we
right.
want you to see yourself as a transfer student. We want you
Yeah,
to recognize the different counselors who exist in this department, and then we all work collaboratively. So
yeah,
that's how I always frame it with students, is that we were very collaborative. So even if it's an Umoja student or a MEN student, they might be part of EOPS. We
yeah,
definitely have students who are taking part in our Student Accessibility Services, or SAS office. And we work collaboratively to take care of the student needs. And I think that it's really, it helps them when they can actually see us working in a collaborative manner,
yeah.
as opposed to, and I still have some students who they really think that I have all the answers. and and I tell them,
Obviously.
and one of the reasons that we work in such a collaborative environment is I want students to recognize, no, it's not me having all the answers. Sometimes you guys come to me with things, and I go to a colleague because I think they might have a better answer, or at least I want to get some more information. And sometimes I might just recommend that you connect with them after talking with my colleagues as well. So the connectedness is just the closeness and the that I feel with my counseling colleagues,
Yeah.
being able to share ideas, being able to collaborate on projects together and so forth. So
It sounds too like there's a lot of trust there among colleagues that I'm going to hand this person off to you and I know that they're in good hands, or I'm going to ask you this question because you know better than me and I trust the stuff that you're going to tell me. So that comes with rapport building and relationship building too, right? That I don't think in all
absolutely.
workspaces we have that.
Yeah, and it's so important because it's one of the things that I know I spend a lot of time when I'm talking to students about the importance of developing a network of people who can support you, and hopefully it's a network that supports our students beyond their time here at MiraCosta.
Yeah.
And I've had alumni in the last few weeks. I've had different alumni who've been gone from the college for quite a few years. They've got their bachelor's degrees, and they've just reached out because they're at a transition point and they're trying to figure out
Yeah.
what that next step might be. And so they're reaching out to the network that they built when they were here.
Yeah.
And so that's the same sort of thing that I want. I mean, a great example, one of those students just 2 weeks ago reached out to me. We talked for about an hour, strategized some things that he could be doing. But I also didn't want to just leave out my colleagues in this because they've got some skill sets that our alumni never, a lot of times they don't think about utilizing. And so
Yeah.
I connected them with Mike Green and our internship
Cool.
specialist, and they had a great meeting. They
Good.
they had an absolutely wonderful meeting, and that was important for for this particular alum to see that we work collaboratively,
Yeah.
and that you still have access to
This whole
these
support network.
resources here. So yeah.
I love too that you're modeling that of like, hopefully they take that forward into their own workspaces and their own lives and go, okay, I remember when they needed help, they asked for it. I can do that too, right?
Right, right, right.
This kind of segues well into, so can you describe a time when a colleague helped you grow in, so I was thinking teaching practice, but counseling practice, professional life, like however broad or narrow you want to be. But was there a moment where a colleague, you've probably got thousands of them, but does something spring to mind?
Yeah, well, another thing that I still do, you know, even though we all have our different periods and times when we're being evaluated and so forth, that process is formal and it's going to happen. But what I find beneficial is either sitting in sometimes on an appointment with a colleague. So I might recommend that one of my students meet with. A great example would be Dr. Flocken, our transfer
Yeah.
director. It's nice to be able to, our offices are right next door to each other. And so without even having an appointment, I just want to make the introduction. And then, a lot of times I'm thinking that we'll set up an appointment and I can sit in on it. But if she's not with a student, or she will actually stop and we'll meet right there. And I get a chance to glean knowledge from how she works with students
Yeah.
in the same situation and so forth. So um, I learn a lot that way just by walking in and sometimes watching the interaction between a
Yeah.
student and a colleague. And I'd say collaboration on workshops, seeing how
Hmm.
my colleagues run their programs. So Moja and Amin are part of our academic success and equity programs, and and so we've got a number of things that are always happening on campus.
Sure.
And it gets to be a little challenging because we're not always able to connect with each other's programs to see, okay, well,
Yeah.
what's going on over here? And then you hear, oh wow, that's something really amazing. I would love to have been there.
How'd
And
you do
so,
that?
hopefully finding an opportunity uh, uh, to collaborate with my colleagues has always been something that I think about every year. So each academic year, so when we're putting together our program, are there some opportunities to collaborate? And so, we've got a few of those things going on that'll happen
Yeah.
in the fall, and we'll do the same thing in the spring.
Yeah, that's a great point of I think we all do that, right? As instructors, where it's just sort of like, you did what? No, that sounds great. And like you were busy at the time or you didn't know that it was
Yes.
happening and you couldn't be there, but then you still want to tap into it somehow, right? To learn
Yeah.
from in real time or after the fact, and making sure that we're consistently learning from our faculty colleagues is just, and our staff colleagues,
Yeah.
like they all contribute so much, and we just need to clone ourselves so we can be in more spaces at one
Right,
time.
right.
So, what kinds of spaces, events, or conversations do make it easier for you to connect with other faculty? And this might be intentional or unintentional.
Yeah, on the intentional side, you know, my as as the counselor coordinator for these two programs, I'm always trying to connect our students to different faculty, different staff who really can support their journey here and so forth. So we have what we call an emoji. We have our village hour time. So every Tuesday, 10:30 to 11:30, we have rooms dedicated. So right after our counseling class, students can come into the village. We'll provide either a little light lunch, some snacks, and sometimes it's just community building.
Yeah.
So for instance, like next Tuesday, I just I just want our students to get to know some of the other faculty members and some of the other
Yeah.
student service areas. And so I just invited folks to just pop in.
Oh, nice.
You don't have to stay the whole time. You just come in, introduce yourself. we want students to start utilizing some of the other services on campus and so forth. And we want to make connections. And what I love is that my colleagues, they love interacting with our students.
Yeah.
And so even if they're coming in for a second, and one of the emails I got actually just this morning, one of the faculty members is going to drop in and share information about an internship opportunity that she's working on behalf of students, and she does a great job. This is a Dr. Edwina Williams. She does a
Oh,
great job of just doing amazing things with our students, and so I'm excited for our students to get a chance to meet her, which also helps when faculty members pop in, even for a minute, to introduce themselves.
yeah.
When we're helping students select classes, it's nice when they'll say, "Hey, that person that you introduced us to, can I take their class?"
Mm-hmm.
And so
Mm-hmm.
that's always helpful when they feel just from a simple introduction,
Yeah.
they feel a connection. So our students are connecting to faculty members in that way, and then they also appreciate just our as counselors, they appreciate our counseling recommendations and so forth. And so uh, I I look forward to just finding those opportunities where faculty members can come in and interact with our students. But also, it's also an opportunity for us to get to know each other a little bit more.
Sure.
So in addition to village hours, we're doing a collaboration with our health sciences ACP. And so that
Nice.
means we're working with the faculty members in the different health areas,
Yeah.
and we're putting together a webinar series that's focused on health issues that disproportionately affect Black folks.
Oh,
And
wow.
it's an important conversation. So we're going to
Yeah.
have a workshop next Friday, the 19th. And those are the kind of collaborations that I want to see more of, and not just in for my area with Emotion of
Yeah.
Men, but throughout our ACE programs. And so like I said, sometimes it's hard to, it might be hard for us to get to all of the different events, but here I am we're doing a health series, two in the fall, two in the spring.
Yeah.
And then as I'm walking across campus, I see another flyer. There's another health related, I think it's a discussion between two Hispanic um, doctors, medical doctors, who are just going to share their journey. And I thought,
Mm.
wow, now that would be wonderful to kind of just
Yeah.
hear that journey. We have students who would like to go to medical school as well,
Yep.
and to hear from someone who looks like
Has
you and
walked that path.
has maybe even traveled that path of transferring from a community college,
Yeah.
that's very powerful. So,
Right.
that's something that I look forward to popping in on to
Mhm.
take part in some aspect of that, just to kind of see how it might relate to what we'll do on Friday.
You're talking a lot too about like not just connecting students cross departmentally, but faculty cross departmentally. And that can be really hard to do if we aren't intentional about it. It can happen almost by happenstance. You end up in a workshop or a training and you meet somebody and that's wonderful, but the things you're doing are really kind of like going out that side of that comfort zone and saying, okay, let's do this thing because it's important to be cross departmental or cross discipline. And I just love that. So I'm sure your students benefit so greatly from that, and any of the faculty who are included in that. So I appreciate you sharing it. And now I want
Thank
to
you.
know everything about all of those events.
Thank
Where do you think connection is missing among faculty? And I'm talking about part-time and full-time. What are some of the things maybe you've heard as a faculty member or seen yourself? And if you had a dream wand you could wave, how would we maybe begin to bridge that?
Well, where it's missing, I think we alluded to it in one of the earlier questions. The the opportunity to actually see what other people are doing.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on, that's for sure. And I know from my case and running an ACE program, uh, we just started last month. We had our first counseling ACE meeting. So we are just looking at my colleagues in the counseling department who are counselors for other ACE programs, and we realized while we were sitting at a Zoom meeting, and I realized, I don't think we've ever had a meeting with just counselors so we can actually talk about what each of us is doing.
Oh,
And we each have, we all work very closely with student equity. So those whole teams come together, and the
sure.
faculty members who were part of those ACE teams as well. So those teams meet regularly on a weekly basis, but
Yeah.
just to connect with my colleagues as counselors to
Yep.
see, okay, well, what are you doing with your program? What does it look like? And so there probably has been a lack of collaboration uh,
Mm,
in that sense, and I definitely would like to see more of that.
yep.
I've already got something planned with our MANA counselor. We'll get our students together, and we want to be able to build community with our students.
Yeah.
Um, and matter of fact, they'll hopefully have some of this, their students will take part in our health series, because some of the issues that disproportionately affect Black people
Right.
also affect our Native Hawaiian Pacific Islander group as well. So,
Right.
so that is, we've got these shared um, concerns that it would be nice to be able to talk about, and so I think the sometimes that connection is I just it's actually, even just thinking about it now, it's a challenge to
Yeah.
have this notion of where are the opportunities for us as faculty members to connect on a regular basis, just to and it can be like I think you said earlier, it doesn't always have to have an agenda. Sometimes it's just,
Yeah.
hey, just connecting. Well,
Yeah.
so like for me, next Tuesday when people are just walking in, introducing themselves to students, grabbing a bite to eat, that is there's no real agenda other than getting to they get to know some of our students, and our students get to know them. They
Hmm.
get to see what I do, ask questions, and what I hope comes out of that as well is that there's some opportunities where they think about, hey, you know what, we're doing this, or I've been thinking about doing this, and I would love to bring Umoja in on this, or Amen, and so I'm hoping that we see a lot more collaboration, or just folks showing up for some of the things that we're doing, and um, that will. I think that will help with the community aspect of it, but that is something that has been missing in terms of
Yeah.
connecting, even in our new
I'm
building.
I'm wondering if is there a space for, let's imagine I'm a faculty member who does want to learn about all these ACE programs. Are there any get-togethers where I can drop in that are not student centered? Now, of course I love our students, but if they weren't there, I have heard from many folks who are not in any of these programs or connected to them that, for example, the front porch types of meetings and stuff, they'll be like, oh, I want to go and I want to meet the students, but I'm also not part of that community and I don't know if it's appropriate. So they may not come to meet and greets for students in those types of settings like you're talking about. So are there faculty or staff spaces where you have any types of gatherings that anybody could come and just kind of learn and connect with the folks in the ACE programs?
Well, it's interesting when you say faculty and staff spaces, those same spaces, like when we put on a porch talk. Matter of fact, I mean, I've been doing this from day one. Matter of fact, I think when I started almost 19 years ago, and uh, Moja was being born. So my first year, folks were signing contracts, building a Moja
Yeah.
programs. We actually didn't get an official Moja program in place until 2012. So it was 5 years. It took 5 years.
Yeah.
Um, and and I would always operate it as though we had a program. So we were calling our teams, our meetings. We were Moja. And one of the things that I've always I struggled in the early days, and that's where faculty members uh, didn't really want to come into the space for the reasons you just outlined. They weren't sure if it was for them, and I was constantly, I wanted more people to come in. Makes the dialogue more rich, and when you understand what a porch talk is, a porch talk, there may be some discomfort, some
Yep.
disagreement, and so forth, but always respect.
Yes.
And so now, I think folks might be a little more comfortable coming into a porch talk. Um, and it definitely is a student-centered environment because we are trying to develop our students into leaders and so forth.
Sure.
But the professional pieces, especially when you get a chance to see, it's not just me as the counselor, it's
Yes.
our student equity team.
Right.
So there's and certainly there's the opportunities I think that we have to maybe do a little bit more of taking the lead in some of the opportunities to do professional development around our ACE programs. Um, you know, I think it'll actually be very interesting because I think the last time I did a workshop for faculty, um, it, some of the things that I do are not what would be normally considered best practices, but they're best practices for Umoja. They're best practices
Yeah.
for men, you know.
Yes. Yes.
And so, just to give faculty members an idea of the accessibility that students have to me. And, it's become kind of a joke now because, now we've got all these tools where I can give out my number, but I can give out a Google number, right? And so that it doesn't have
Yep.
to be my personal number. But in
Yep.
the early days, that wasn't the case.
Oh,
So I've
yes.
got like 19 years of
Of
people have my number.
right.
And so and it was necessary because it
Yes.
we were constantly trying to make sure that we didn't lose students and to feel like you only had between 9 and 5 to connect was different. So
Sure.
I still think connecting in our porch talks in some of the spaces, the workshops that we're doing starting next week, those are probably the best places to come in. And then the other areas we just talked about are me and my colleagues finding opportunities to actually
Yeah.
do more Q&As, workshops, and for professional development and so forth.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I think I asked that in a as a sneaky reason of like knowing the answer, but wanting people to know the answer. Like,
Yeah,
yes, you should go.
it's
Yes, you should
interesting.
go.
It's yeah, it's interesting though because we um it in a porch talk we want to have really rich dialogue and we want folks to feel comfortable, and so I don't want them to feel like I never want anyone to feel like they don't belong. That should never be a question because it's the same thing that we've kind of dealt with for
That's
decades
why the
and
porch talks exist.
exactly.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And I think to your point, like you said in the earlier years, you knew there were a lot of faculty, like they supported it, but they didn't, like I hear still of like, I want to support it. I want to support the students. I want to be there, but I also don't want to infringe on where they feel safe, and I think there's
Yeah.
that borderline and I can see that. But at some point, you take a risk, right? And you go and you see like, is that really the case? Are you assuming that's the case? And you don't know till you try it and you meet some folks who are really truly wonderful. And I think that there's just so many opportunities out there that faculty can connect in some really meaningful ways and maybe hold themselves back from doing because there's some assumptions out there that are not necessarily true.
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah, so I appreciate all that you do. Is there anything I didn't touch on that you feel like you could share? And it's okay if you don't have an answer for that because I don't have a prize for you.
Uh, well, what I could share is one thing you may hear, uh, and I didn't even do it in this greeting right now. Is just how we greet each other and so forth. I make a big deal out of that. I always tell students how we start something and how we finish something is really important. And the start can be as simple as greeting. So I greet my class with a word, sawubona.
Yes.
Sawubona is a Zulu word that means I see you. And that was a word that was taught to me probably like 15 years ago by
Yeah.
a student. And it was during a porch talk. And he basically he was sharing that this is not just you and I looking at each other. This is a recognition of our shared humanity. That's a recognition of everything that makes you who you are and who I am. And I just thought that's a very deep hello. That's a
A
very deep
very deep
hello.
hello.
And
Is that
so
the origin of it here at Miracosta? Because I know it has, like, Dr. Williams uses it all the time and everything. So
exactly, exactly.
I'm
Yes.
wondering.
Yeah, yeah, man. I mean, the first time I heard the word, like I said, it's probably been about 15, 16 years. Um, and I think I used it at an Emoja conference. And this
Yeah,
is even statewide, they use this
they
as a
use it.
greeting.
Okay.
And I don't think most people know where that origin came from, with the exception of
Yeah,
the guys who've been around from the beginning.
right.
But that was a student who shared that, and it means so much. And so I love it when, definitely when I hear it around campus. And even when I almost expect to hear it when I go to an Emoja conference,
Sure.
but when I'm just at some place where I hear the word unexpectedly, that means that other people are using it, and so they basically were just as touched by it as I am.
Yeah,
And so they're using it in spaces, and that becomes the origin for them, but it also, the meaning is what's important. So
I
so
see.
I just wanted to share that because I do like to that's my little icebreaker typically whenever I get nervous. Let me start with something that I know most people probably have not heard, and then hopefully they'll start to hear it more, even on our campus.
Yeah. Is it only a hello? Does it work as a at any other point? Can I say at any time?
Well, you absolutely can, because again, it
Okay.
means I see you. So
Okay, that's what I
it's a
thought, but I didn't know if
recognition.
it was also tied to like specifically it is meant as hello, but I see you. Does that make sense? Like
It's
as a greeting.
it's a great reminder for me as well, because
Yeah.
I think I think I do a pretty good job of connecting with people as I'm walking across campus.
You do.
I'll do real quick check-ins with students
You
that
do.
I see, or I'll introduce myself to a student. And but what I realize sometimes is some of those interactions are so fast
Yeah.
that I really didn't connect. And
Yeah.
so Sawubona is a way to, okay, this might be a 30-second interaction, but
Yeah.
I'm going to take a moment. I'm going to really see this student, or I'm going to see
Yeah.
this my colleague here, and so forth. So yeah, use it in definitely, I think, in more context,
I
the
love
better.
I love that. And I'm gonna say, even if you forget to say it, which you don't usually, but let's say you forget to say it and you're connecting with those students as you're walking across, I think we also can agree that as former students, man, when a teacher said hi to us and they noticed us on campus and they were just walking by, like that was really cool. That meant a lot. Like, you know my name and you stopped to say hi. Like the
It's a
fact
big
that you
deal.
add more to it just is even better, but like
It is a big deal. And
it's
and
a
it-
big
and it
deal.
actually shows that because if you have to explain it, yeah, it means you got to take that second to do what I just did. And
Yeah,
and you're not in a rush to just get to the
exactly.
next thing.
Exactly. But yeah. Thank you, Dawn. I think that just speaking as somebody as a faculty member, I started here about 9 years ago, and so you've been here a minute longer than me. And you've just always been so welcoming, and I think by the nature of your job, you are well connected. But then as a human, you're somebody who also seeks connection. And you're a wonderful just model of that, and that's part of why I wanted to talk to you is you're just so welcoming. And I've always known in my 9 years here, even if I didn't know you well, we're not in the same spaces
Mhm.
typically. And it's like, I know Dawn knows this, or I know I can refer someone to Dawn because I trust you. We have connected enough that I understand students are in very good hands with you. Faculty are in very good hands with you. So
Thank
I
you. I
appreciate
appreciate
you
that.
taking the time today to kind of talk through all of this with me.
Well, I appreciate the invitation, and thank you for the kind words and for thinking of me.
Of course. I'm gonna go ahead and sign off
Okay.
and